Alrighty, guys. Sorry I had to keep pushing back the time, but we were getting some stuff together. As you can see, our guest tonight, Mr. Ed Sawicki, is joining us again, and he's got his combat jacket on with his ranks, his SOG patches, his jump wings, both American and Vietnamese, his combat infantryman badge, his LLDB patch, and as you can see, he's wearing his green beret correctly. He's got it perched over his left eye, correctly folded, just like a Special Forces man should. Y'all should remember Mr. Ed was gracious enough. We were having technical difficulties the last time he joined us, and he could only speak. I couldn't. So he spoke for about 36 minutes. We're going to hand it off to him, kind of let him do a brief overview of what he covered last time, and we're going to get into some question and answers since he really just only got to speak and we ended the conversation. So, Mr. Ed, if you'd like to run through a little bit of stuff and we'll get into the questions.
Thank you, bud. Let's kind of review a little bit about what went on in the first YouTube. I kind of went into all my Special Forces training, which included my basic and AIT at Fort Ord. It included parachute school at Fort Benning and then transfer to Fort Bragg for phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of Special Forces training. I was assigned after that to the 7th Special Forces Group, and they sent me to a couple of schools. First one was language school for Vietnamese. And then the second one was intelligence school. So I had 3 MOSs. My first one was an 11 Bravo, which is light infantry. My second one was 1-2 Bravo, which is engineering and demolitions. And they also sent me to Fort Belvoir for an advanced engineering class. Okay, so then after that, I got assigned to the 5th Special Forces and shipped off to Vietnam. First thing I did at Vietnam was they asked for volunteers for a convoy from Nha Trang to Bambi Tuet, and it was carrying supplies to establish a new A team, A231, called Tui Ta. So I didn't know it at the time, but I was later assigned to A231 Tui Ta, and the supplies that we got out of Nha Trang were for that. Highlights. I worked with 3 companies of mountain yards. They were Rade and Jirai mountain yards. And I was building the camp. It's a brand new camp. I can remember seeing Christmas carols with the mountain yards under a parachute at Christmas time. And then, then I was on a patrol, myself, another American, and 60 mountain yards. And we were on the Cambodian border, and I had set up an L-shaped ambush. And this was about 2 weeks prior to Tet of 1968. So I had my 3 recon teams out. I had 1 north, 1 south, 1 east, 1 west. And I was waiting on I had 3 of the teams came back, and then I was waiting on the 4th one. They came in and they said, Boku VC coming down the trail. And so I counted 19 NBA in the kill zone when I triggered the ambush. Okay. And then we had a firefight, and we got flanked on all 3 sides. We were, overwhelmed by the NVA. And I said to the other American, take the company back. I'll hold the squad here with the A6 machine gun, and I'll give you a minute or two to get started. And I said, then I'm going to be running up your butt. And so we did that. I called in Spooky that night, or Puff the Magic Dragon, and we went back in the next day to look at the ambush site, and there were 3 or 4 bodies there, big guys. I thought they were Chinese when I originally looked at them. And then I booby trapped one of the bodies, and we started heading back towards Kuyata, the A231. And then as we pulled away, I could hear the hand grenade that I had put on the body go off, because they were recovering the bodies, which I knew they would anyway. So anyway, got back into base, and I had a real good captain that was in charge of the A team. He says, "Hey, we're going to send you into Bambi-2. You had a pretty rough time out there." So I got in Bambi-2, and Tech 68 broke out, and I was downtown Bambi-2 with a 45, and that's all I had. So I decided I got back to the B team, which is in Bambi-2, and I said, I got to get out back to the A team where I'm safe. So that happened. They gave me the Bronze Star for heroism on that one. And shortly thereafter, I got shipped to SOG, a Special Operations Group, or a Scientific Observation Group, depending on which one you hear. I was in SOG. I was assigned to FOB4, which is in Da Nang. And I did reconnaissance, several reconnaissance missions. I was a 1-1 and a 1-2. I was never the guy in charge, but I was directly under him. And then one of them was a going in to look at for POWs. We had a lead on some POW camps, so we went in and tried to find them. It didn't turn out to anything, but we gave it a try. The other one, I can remember sitting on a trail. It was me, the 1-0, and about I think it was 4 or 5 Chinese Nung mercenaries, and we're on this trail. We're actually in a bush off the trail, and I start counting these NVA marching down the trail, and it must have been, I don't know, 50 or 60 of them on the trail. And I kept thinking to myself, if one of these guys sneeze, we're going to be dead meat, from that standpoint. Anyway, we got out and went back to Da Nang, and on August 23rd, 1968, that's when they had the overrun at FOB4 by zappers, NVA zappers. And what they would do is they had satchel charges, and they'd put a guy, throw the satchel charge on through one door where there was 3 Green Berets, and then they had a guy with an AK-47 on the other end. So as you ran out, they would try to shoot him and kill him. Okay. And when it started about 1:30 in the morning on August 23rd, and there was 3 guys with me in this hooch, or where we slept, and there was 3 guys on the other side of the wall, so that where they would have thrown a satchel charge. So it started about 1:30, and I got up and I got my car 15 and my pants and my ammunition belt, and started out the door. The second guy out was SFC Greenwood. He was an ex-British sergeant major. So as I went out, we were kind of down by the beach. So I ran out and I turned left, and Greenwood was the second guy out the door, and he saw the bullets hitting the sand as I was running out and turning left. And then he took his car 15 and blew that guy away. And then I ran out and I ran towards a predetermined bunker that we were going to keep. We were told to get to if anything happened. So as I was going there, there was a latrine, and where the TOC was, a Technical Operations Center, and one of the headquarters buildings. As I turned, I had noticed two guys wearing diapers and headbands and carrying AK-47s. Then it dawns on me, hey, they're not our guys. So I opened up with my car 15, and I dumped the full magazine into these two guys, and we were like 15 feet away. And I remember thinking about it, because they ran a couple of feet, and the thought crossed my mind immediately, how could I miss? We were that close. And I didn't miss. They ran about 10 more feet and then fell down. The only thing I can think of is the bullets. We were so close, and the bullets were flying that the bullets went through them, and they just kept on moving. So anyway, I got out to the bunker, and we got myself, Greenwood, and Griffin were assigned to this bunker, and we were told, get in the bunker and hold it at all costs. So that's where we did. I remember seeing a lot of NBA and our guys too, running around, and I kept thinking to myself, if we could just wait until morning, I think we're going to make it out of there alive. That's a picture of a guy by the name of Jung, and right next to him was one of my roommates, a guy by the name of Griffin, and I can't quite make out. Oh yeah, there was another guy that lived in Fresno, and me, and was after a mission, so we were celebrating after a mission on that one. And so anyway, we got through the night and made it. The NBA actually took over the base, but we got it back by morning. And then they asked me to take a squad of Chinese nuns and head up towards the top of the hill where we had a radio relay site. This was Marble Mountain. There were two peaks. One was a Buddhist temple, and the other was our radio relay site. And when the firing was going on, I'm looking up at our radio relay site, and all I'm seeing is these tracers over there. And I'm thinking to myself, those guys aren't going to make it. They're just going to get killed in the action. They did make it. And I met the guy at the last Sura meeting that was up on that hill. So we talked, had a nice conversation about it. Then I was on another operation with a hatchet force, and we were out. I think it was in Laos actually, and there was we had about I'd say about 60 Chinese Nun mercenaries and probably 10 Green Berets. Okay. And anyway, we got in, and the area we went into it was like a fork river in it. Okay. So we landed on one side of the river and got everybody in there, and couldn't find anything. So I was asked to by Captain Pfeiffer, who headed up the team, to go up, see if I could go up the hill and find out where they were. So I went up the hill. That's Pfeiffer right there. Okay. I went up the hill and couldn't see anything. So I had been assigned a brand new second lieutenant to go with me. And I had maybe 7 Chinese young mercenaries with me. So we got up and couldn't see anything. So I decided to climb a tree. And when I climbed the tree, I saw the NVA on the other side of the river. So I had I yelled down to the lieutenant to contact Pfeiffer and tell him that we're on the wrong side of the river. So anyway, they eventually spotted me when I started calling in artillery and aircraft on them. And I stayed up in the tree for about a half hour directing the bombs and artillery. And then we went down. I finally went down the next morning. They wanted me to go down that night, but there was no way I could make it down that hill. It was just I tried about 20 times, but it was so thick, the jungle, I couldn't get through it. So anyway, the next morning came up and there was light and I could get down with the team. And we made it down and got out of there. Eventually got out of there a couple of days later and back to FOB4. And for that, they gave me the Army Commendation Medal for heroism. So then after Vietnam, I had a year to go. So they sent me back to 6 Special Forces at Fort Bragg, where I was assigned to a SATM team. That is the Special Atomic Munitions and Demolitions. You jump in with a baby bomb, a baby atomic bomb. And, we never actually did a full-blown mission like this, but we had to practice it. So we jump out of plane with the mock-up, and we had all these code names you had to go through, like Broken Arrow and Bent Spear and stuff like that once you got down to call in the quality of that. The other thing they had me assigned to was satellite recovery. This is back in the 60s, late 60s. And, if a satellite went down, they wanted a team to go out and pick up the satellite. So, and then eventually got discharged, was lost for about 5 years, drank heavily, and eventually went back to college. And I did my undergrad at San Jose State, and then Intel hired me as their first safety engineer. And I went to graduate school while I was at Intel at the University of San Francisco, and I majored in industrial and environmental toxicology. I was with Intel for 7 years. I started out as their first safety engineer, ended up as their corporate director of health and safety worldwide. I decided to leave and go back and start my own corporation, which I did. And it was called MicroSafe. And we specialized in hazardous materials and decontamination based in semiconductors. And we did pretty much all around the world. We did work pretty much all around the world. And I got involved with several engineering organizations. I was a chairman of the board for the Semiconductor Safety Association for 26 years. And I lectured at probably 10 or 15 different universities worldwide. And had a thrilling career. One of my big clients was Jet Propulsion Laboratories. I did work for NSA, stuff like that. And then I ran my corporation for 18 years, and I got tired of running the corporation. So at that time, Applied Materials asked me to come over and be their regulatory compliance officer. And when I was there for 7 years, and then it was time to retire. So I still do engineering, but I do it on my own time frame. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That is an outstanding. I'm glad you sent that to me, and that's why I was so eager to make sure we could find your life list out like that, because I mean that's something you could only. I mean, I don't even think you could dream of something that dreaming of being a Green Beret Special Forces. That's one thing, but accomplishing that, surviving FOB4, the sapper attack, and then to go on and do all of what you did. I mean,
Yeah, I've had I've had a great life. Okay, first off, I survived being in SOG and going through the Marble Mountain War, and then I was made. I got the Lifetime Achievement Award in Semiconductor Safety and Health. I have worked with a lot of the fire departments in Silicon Valley, setting up hazardous materials things for them. And they wrote up an article on me recently for the Electronic Engineering News, and they referred to me as the father of semiconductor safety. I worked for the United Nations a couple of times, and I've been involved in writing some of the laws and regulations for the state of California.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff you literally. I mean, I'm oversaying it, but I mean, who would have dreamed? I mean, you could do something like this. I mean, even in 1968. I'm sure you didn't think about semiconductors and finding your way into it. I mean, that's amazing.
I got no regrets. If I died tomorrow, I have had one hell of a ride. Okay,
I will say so. I've been looking through that resume right there. You've lived several lifetimes.
Yeah, I have survived a number of times. I'm disabled now, 100% disabled, and I got involved with the veterans games called the Valor Games on their board of directors.
Wow.
And that's the Paralympics for disabled veterans. And I trained at the Paralympic Center. And
I actually came across a photo before and that I did not find from our last interview, and I'll have to see if I can find it, but it was you training with the shot put.
Yeah.
Did you compete at one point in time in the games?
I did a number of things. I also participated in it, besides being on their board of directors, but I threw the shot put, I threw the discus, I threw the javelin, I did weightlifting, and I did biathlon, which is skiing and shooting at the same time. Yeah, it was a rough trip.
I think we could aptly say, without anyone being taking issue with it, you are absolutely the definition of a Renaissance man. I mean,
it's kind of weird, bud, but they just selected me for the Veterans Honor Flight today to go back to DC. So
that's amazing. I hope you're going to go. Are you going to?
I am going.
You are. That's excellent.
That's it.
What a person to represent Special Forces and SOG. I can't think of a better person. That's amazing.
Well, thank you, bud. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, sir. I mean, you are an outstanding man. We of course we're definitely gonna have some questions after the first time you joined us, and now getting to hear the rest of your story. One of the first questions we've got, and I've got quite a few myself, but awareness with Chris was curious about, did SOG ever run into men from Project Delta, and what was the opinion of the men of Project Delta amongst SOG?
I had a good friend of mine that was in Project Delta. It was similar to SOG. I don't recall what their mission was, but this buddy of mine was in Project Delta. We met in Da Nang, and his uncle was on a ship in Da Nang Harbor. So we went out to see him. Yeah, I used to run across Project Delta quite a bit. The prisoner location that we tried earlier that I mentioned was, I think, an Ops 34 mission. That's what they called it, to go in and try to locate prisoners.
If I'm not mistaken, we've had a few gentlemen on from Project Delta who ended up in SOG, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of them.
yeah,
They were the first recon outfit set up, but their specialty was in country.
yeah,
SOG was
yeah,
out,
yeah,
although y'all did run in country missions clearly, but their specialty was only in country
yeah. And,
doing
you
this.
know, we went in behind enemy lines, sterile, in black pajamas, and nothing to identify us with the United States. The picture you showed of me in the first go around, I was carrying an AK-47. When you get in behind enemy lines, you could fire an AK-47. They wouldn't think much of it, but if you let loose with a CAR-15, they'd grab you.
There's
There's
the
the
black.
hatchet force. Yeah, that picture was on 60 Minutes. I don't know if you remember the news program 60 Minutes, but they had that on there.
Sadly, it's gone to crap, or much like everything else these days, but it used to
Yeah,
be very good. Even when I was younger, it was still pretty good.
yeah.
There's Mr. Ed, guys, right here in the back, right here in the middle in the back as well.
That's it.
And Charging Charlie right here. Y'all should know from reading about him in Mr. John Plaster's book
Yeah,
about him taking out some of the last few sappers that had tried to hide from the guys in the latrine, evidently, and
yeah, that was it. Yeah, I remember that.
he promptly took care of business.
He did. He wound up getting a Silver Star. He was a West Point graduate, so they gave him the Silver Star at West Point.
Oh wow, I didn't realize they gave it to him at West
Yeah,
Point.
yeah.
Wow.
And a lot of these guys are dead now that you're seeing in the pictures. A lot of them are no longer amongst the living. A lot of them got killed that night, August 23rd.
Yes, sir. I know I had some of these that were actually out and labeled. I think Mr. Jungling's in one of these,
Yeah,
and
Young was a good friend of mine. Yeah,
Mr.
absolutely.
Tony Love, he called him
Yeah,
Jug, and
he's
he
in one of these
absolutely
pictures.
loved Jug.
There's Griffin on the top one with his belly out.
Is that the British
Fooling
gentleman?
around. Okay. The guy with the green beret on, I can't remember his name. You know, and I can't remember the other guy's name. But if you want to look at the hooches that's in that second photo, that was a hooch, and there was a wall that separated it. They've had three guys on one side and three guys on the other side, and that's where the zappers would throw in a satchel charge and then have a guy with an AK-47 on the other side.
And I'm about to get to that as well. That's a great
There's
photo.
Jung. There's Jung right there. He's the guy in a white T-shirt, and Griffin's next to him. And then I got the can of beer in my hands. A buddy of mine that's looking out at it was from Fresno. I can't remember his name though, and I can't recognize the other two.
Is this the Mr. Griffin that was or Griffith that was a British soldier?
No. That was Greenwood.
Greenwood.
Yeah,
Okay.
Greenwood had you instantly recognize him because he had a really big mustache, twirled up on both sides. You know,
Oh wow.
he was a typical Englishman from that standpoint.
Gosh, I'm gonna have to find a picture of him now.
I don't know if I got a picture of him. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, I've been looking through some of the FOB archives, and I'll bring up some pictures here in a minute.
Yeah.
And I've yet to find one of him, but I'll keep looking. Bonnie Cooper's good about
Yeah.
that, and I'll see if I know if anybody has a picture of Miss Bonnie does.
Yeah.
Here's one, and I think you actually didn't mention his name, but you mentioned him earlier about being on the mountain. Bayou was saying Larry Trimble played a huge role in repelling the attack on the
Absolutely.
mountain. Did you
Yeah.
know Larry, and did you know he was
Yeah.
there at the time?
Yeah. He was up on Marble Mountain when all hell broke loose. And he's the guy I met at the last Sura meeting, and I talked to him. And I said to him, I didn't think you guys were going to make it that night. And he looked at me and says, I didn't think we were going to make it that night either. So, but interesting.
Very much. I mean, because if y'all have not listened to Mr. Larry's Sogcast, he goes into great detail. I've had the honor to not only meet him at SOAR in 22, but also to speak with him privately. And they repelled an attack, a mortar attack. Let me get that off there. Sorry about that. But his Indige had also were thinking of leaving and calling it a night. And he said, all right, you can go, but you're not coming back. And they ended up getting down, and he said, you know what, I need them, and decided to let them come up back up there. And there's Mr. Larry with Bobby and Spike Team Rattler, who was up on the mountain with Mr. Melvin Westerfield. And they fought hard against the NVA. A lot of people say Mr. Larry probably should have had a DSC or something higher for what he did that night.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it a bit.
It's I mean, you could, and that's the thing about SOG. I've come to realize I always get kind of peeved when I see all of you guys doing crazy stuff, and you may get an RCOM, or you may not get anything at all. And I've and it's because that was expected of y'all. That was just what y'all did.
I had the honor of knowing about 6 Congressional Medal of Honor winners.
Holy.
And about 4 of them were in SOG. Okay. And I think I sent you a picture of one where there were me, 2 2-star generals, and a Congressional Medal of Honor guy behind me. And it's his name is Jim Taylor, and he got the Congressional Medal of Honor. He's actually head of the Congressional Medal of Honor Society back in D.C. So, heck of a guy.
Did you that was gonna? I'm sure you mentioned knowing some of the Medal of Honor winners, and I've got it right here. Did you know Mr. John Caviani?
No, I didn't know him. I knew Zabakowski.
Mr. Fred.
And I were good friends. I knew Drew Dixon.
I've just gotten his book I'm about to read.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. Okay, that's the one with me in a wheelchair, and the guy behind me in a white shirt is Jim Taylor, the Congressional Medal of Honor winner, and I'm flanked on either side by 2-star generals. One was in charge of the ROTC program at San Jose State. The other was in charge of the ROTC program at Santa Clara. I did I gave a speech to the graduating ROTC class at Santa Clara. They want to know about special ops and stuff like that.
What an honor for them. I'm great for them to going through the ROTC and then to have a bona fide SOG man come talk to them.
Yeah, those are the Valor Game shots. This is the one on the with the numbers on it on the right-hand side is part of the biathlon. That's a ski portion of the biathlon.
Jeez Louise. I mean, there you are, rocking and rolling, doing the biathlon. I mean, you are a force to be reckoned with, sir.
Yeah. And these are all Valor Games photos.
Got the silver medal here?
Yeah, I got quite a number of medals. I got some bronze, some silver, and some gold.
Wow. Jeez Louise. There you go then. All right. And notice, guys, he's still wearing his beret correctly, right over that the corner of the left eye.
I think the one on the right is when I got one of them. I can't remember which medal it was. Oh, and the one on the left has the medal on it too.
Mm-hmm. Oh
But I
yeah,
can't
you
remember.
not without the medal.
Yeah.
And I think you may have. Oh, there's your gold right there. I think.
Yeah, I think it was. So anyway,
That,
there's part
that's
of the Valor
amazing.
Games, and this is
Oh,
one of the 2-star generals with me. And the
looks like
bottom
he's got
one
an
is
ESC
actually
right
the other
there.
end of the biathlon, which is shooting. You got it.
What kind of is it like an air rifle? What kind of
Laser. It's a laser rifle.
Wow,
Yeah,
heavy duty. I can imagine you did very well on that
I
event.
did. As a matter of fact, I did. Okay,
Wow,
and
wow,
this is
wow. Let's see where
okay.
this.
Yeah, there's the Valor Games. This shot was taken by the San Jose Mercury News, and I was in San Mateo, California.
What a group of veterans right there with you. How many Vietnam vets would you say that show up for the?
It's hard to say. That's me with the College of San Mateo dog. A lot of people say, which one is the dog? And that other one was when I threw the discus. Okay, that's the discus when I got a medal for that one.
Wow. I mean that is outstanding. And there's another rifle shooting competition there.
It. Yeah, there's another rifle.
That is heavy duty right there, sir. Wow. I know I had let's see. Oh, somebody was asking if you were related to somebody right here. Jed was curious. He served in the Marine Corps with a Nathan Sawicki from Hastings, Nebraska. By chance, would you know?
No. Most of my relatives were back in New Jersey, and I don't know of any Nathan. But Sawicki's a fairly common Polish name. It's kind of like Smith in Polish, from that standpoint.
That's interesting, kind of like Smith in Polish. I was curious. Could you pronounce the name of your A camp that you were first at?
Tuyata.
Tuyata. Okay.
Tuyata.
I have such trouble. I'm good at some stuff, but that was way out of my league. I was curious. You had mentioned you first got into the train, and they're asking for, of course, the convoy and everything. And do you actually take it to where? Because I think you said you're actually going to build the camp. Do you take it to where?
That was it. Yeah, all the supplies we transported were like lumber and barbed wire and stuff like that. That was to build that camp. Only I didn't know it when I was transporting it. So
Was the camp? Was there a camp yet, or were
no,
you literally building the
we
camp?
were out in the woods.
Holy
Nothing
cow!
else. And we were working. We were building the camp, and we worked with the 4th Infantry engineers to put in the airstrip.
That's I'm always and I always get questions about interactions with infantry or regular units, shall you say? So that's interesting with the 4th ID helping you guys out like that.
Not really. I mean, I interfaced with the 4th Infantry engineers when we were putting in the airstrip. Other than that, no. I had a lot of when I went through Fort Belvoir on the Advanced Engineering School. We used conventional construction equipment like graders and scrapers and all that other stuff, and but those are kind of the only times I had anything to do with a conventional unit. All my time was basically with Special Forces.
Wow!
All the time I was in.
Wow! With when you were and I've not even, because I couldn't even pronounce it and spell it correctly, and now that I've got your paperwork, I can. But how close would you say the A camp was to the Cambodian border? How close were you guys?
Close. It was, I'm going to say 10 clicks.
Holy cow. So
Yeah, it
y'all
was
were
close.
I mean y'all
Yeah.
could catch fire easily, rockets and all of that straight
Yeah,
from the
we
border.
used to get rockets and mortars and probed, from that standpoint. So
And what was it like for you there? Did you get along with the XO,
yeah, I
your top and
loved the
everybody?
mountain guards. I loved them. It just a great group of people. They kind of adopt you as part of their family.
Mhm.
You know, where the Chinese nuns at FOB4 were a little more reserved, and they were good fighters, and we got along. The ones I couldn't trust were the Vietnamese special forces guys,
Mm, mm.
because you didn't know whether they were working both sides or whatever. And,
Or
and,
just
and
bad
later
soldiers.
on, we found out that they were working both sides, and that was part of the August 23rd thing. They had a Vietnamese colonel that was a North Vietnamese double agent, and you know,
Wow. I didn't even realize that they had
yeah,
a Vietnamese
absolutely. They didn't
colonel.
find out until after. I think they found out after the war, but anyway, yeah.
Jeez Louise. That's and did you mention when you at the A camp that y'all actually had two tribes, the Rade and the Jirai?
Yeah, we did. Two tribes,
Wow.
mainly Rade and Jirai.
Did I've always heard that not always, but I've heard from some guys that s- there was a healthy, shall we say, rivalry
Yeah,
amongst teams.
absolutely. You're right.
Did they
Yep.
work well together in the A camp?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we worked well together, from that standpoint. Um, Trying to think. As I said before, the only guys I didn't trust were the Vietnamese special forces guys, and
and we all know and have read why, and you just illuminated why, and
yeah,
even illuminated me to a new one that I didn't know. Um,
yeah,
Geez, did with the A camp work that was going on, where I know you guys would do the ambushes, the patrols, and everything. Were y'all going to local villages for med calls and
yeah,
such as
absolutely.
keeping that special forces outreach and community
Yeah.
outreach going?
We were there to win over their minds and hearts. And if we couldn't do that, we'd kill them.
Like let God sort them out, I believe is the old saying.
Yeah.
Uh, so how do you? I can't remember if it was a matter of a few months. How long were you at the A camp before you
I was at the A
transitioned over?
camp probably about 2.5 months, and then they transferred me to SOG. And looking back at it, that's the reason they sent me to uh, spy school, 11 Foxtrot. That was my third MOS, and I thinking back at it right now that I think that they knew I was going to SOG eventually.
Um, and there's actually, as we're transitioning, two more questions about the A
Yeah.
camp. One was on my part. At this point in time, I think it was looking at your notes, 68. Had the Car 15s made their way to the A camps, or was that still reserved for SOG and all of that? What kind
Uh,
of weapons were at the A camps?
Say again. At the weapons at the A camp.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the weapons. You know, a lot of the weapons were M2 carbines.
Oof.
Okay, which are about as effective as a slingshot. As far as I was concerned. We had A6 machine guns.
Oh Lord.
I think we had sniper rifles. We had 03A3 with a scopes on it for that. And we had the claymores, we had the hand grenades, we had the didn't have toe poppers. We had toe poppers at SOG. I used to take a lot of claymores and toe poppers. I had this thing where I had a backpack with a claymore mine on it with a 30-second fuse, so I could drop the backpack and 30 seconds head start from getting away from him.
That's sneaky. I was reading a question that come in that said, "Hey, bud, the M19 or M1919A6 is a great weapon." Because my remarks on it, I'm still amazed that you guys were using the carbines and everything like that. But you got to make do with what you got,
Yeah, on an 18, that's true. Okay, and when I get the SOG, I had a variety of weapons. I had the Car 15, I had an AK-47, I had a Swedish K with a silencer on it, that type of thing.
Anything and everything.
Yep, you got it.
One of our last, as we're transitioning here, Jed was curious about, was the A camp the traditional home area of your indigenous strikers that you work with?
No, it was not. They brought the Montagnards in from another camp that they were reestablishing to bring them into Tuyata.
Wow. And I hear a lot of all three CNCs, to be honest, from reading Jason Hardy's books. At the end, they try and keep up or they do their best to say what happened to the Montagnards, and most of the time is the Americans packed up weapons for them and they went home to their home village. And I've noticed a lot of them came from FOB4. It looked like.
Yeah. FOB4 was in the Central Highlands, and the Montagnard story is a very sad story. Okay, a lot of them are dead. As a result of us pulling out and them having to survive. And there was a competition between the Montagnards and the Vietnamese, even when times were good, from that standpoint. They have a special forces camp in North Carolina that they set up for the Montagnards. And,
Save the Montagnard people. I try and donate to that at least every so month or so. I actually got a Montagnard bracelet sent because of my donations.
Yeah, they give you those brass bracelets and they keep turning your wrist green.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It ain't a real one like y'all got, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Jed, this could actually be kind of a good question on both. When you took a KIA or a wounded indige, where were they taken to?
Usually when we took them, we'd either they'd pick them up and I think they sent them down to Saigon for special ops. And in fact, I think the A team also sent them down there to Saigon for interrogation.
And did you ever have any trouble with, because we know the Vietnamese look down on the Montagnards. Did you ever have any trouble with the Vietnamese mistreating your guys or any of your people?
No, not really. I know every day. Had there been, I would have stepped in on it. But we were able to get along. Usually the Vietnamese that we had were LLDB, which is Vietnamese Special Forces.
Look Long Dinh Bien, I think. Yeah, LLDB. Speaking of that, as we're again, I keep saying we're transitioning, but did you work closely with the LLDB while you were at the A camp, or was that solved?
No, at the A camp, I did have contact with the LLDB, But SOG, you were pretty much on your own, okay, from that standpoint. But I was always leery about the Vietnamese Special Forces. Something in the back of my mind just said, watch yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Lord knows, all the viewers has read the books from Mr. Plaster, Lynn Black, and
Yeah,
all those guys, and have heard some sketchy tales. So we can definitely see what you're saying there.
yeah.
I'm actually reading a book that's early on in Vietnam, probably 66, 67, and full rows being spoken about at a Bammy Tui. Were you aware of full row?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And the weird part is Pharaoh was a kind of a CIA mountain yard operation, okay? Mostly in Cambodia and Laos. And I was a demo guy, so when I ordered demolitions, I'd have to order twice as much because
They're getting it.
I'd only have half of it, and I knew where the other half was going. That was going to Pharaoh. Yeah,
That's great. That's that's great. New to order two times the amount because half of it was getting
yeah.
taken down the line. Little skimming going on.
I knew what was going on. I mean, just keep my mouth shut and continue to march.
That's amazing how that because there for a while when the revolt happened, it was pretty testy early on, and then it kind of
Yeah,
seemed like as long as they faced the North Vietnamese, the South Vietnamese kind of left them to their own devices,
yeah,
which is a good idea because as I've read and heard, there were a lot of ferocious fighters and units out of the Full Row
yeah.
organization.
Well, a couple of the SA guys actually worked with Cambodians, and I think it was it. They had Cambodians. We had Chinese Dungs, and Command and Control Central had the mountain yards.
Mm, mm.
So interesting.
Yes, sir. A Fank is another group that kind of formed on the auspices of the Cambodians and training their little, not secret army. It was more well known, but
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
very interesting stuff.
It was a secret army that the mountain yards had at Pharaoh.
That's amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So excuse me, frog in my throat. How exactly are you going to get to SOG? What do you go to Nha Trang and request it, or are they short on men? What's the transition like?
Okay. Well, I was at the A camp. I got my orders for SOG. So I
Got
went
order.
back to Nha Trang. And when I hit Nha Trang, they said, you're going to Da Nang, FOB4. So that was a slam bam, thank you, ma'am, type of routine. It was quick.
Wow. Got orders for it, and they were waiting and ready to tell you where you were going. That's
Yep.
pretty
Yep.
pretty. And you
I
had
think it was
already.
predestined.
Yes, sir. I
By
was about to
then.
say because you had already cleared the FBI background checks for your schooling that you had done and all of
Yeah.
that, so
Yeah.
you were ready to go right into the organization.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think Special Forces, all the stuff I did in Special Forces, which includes Vietnam and SOG, have kind of made me the man I am today. I was able to fulfill the mission. If I was given an assignment, it was going to get done. From that standpoint, that stuff.
and leadership abilities, I've got to
Yeah,
think that plays a huge part in the man
yeah.
you are today. You definitely command attention now, so I can only imagine when you were working, you could snap them into shape real quick. Um, what's it? Because you had mentioned you did play a part in a little bit of the recon game, 4 missions, 5 missions. What was your first day like on the compound? Did you find out where you were going immediately, or were you kind of stuck in limbo?
No, it was I was naive when I first got started. Okay, and they started me out as a 1-2, and then they moved me up to a 1-1. And be honest with you, I didn't like the 1-0. Okay, I just
A
something
lot of
didn't ride
responsibility.
right with me, from that standpoint. I was really, really happy on the Hatchet Force. I loved the Hatchet Force because you'd go in and kick butt and take names, and that's what I kind of thought war was all about, from that standpoint. But I
It's
was
kind of
happy.
like
I
it's
was
kind
happy
of
with the Hatchet Force.
it's kind of like what you were doing with the A team, going out with the strikers and
Yeah,
ambushing and fighting.
yeah, yeah.
So, um, do you happen to? I know it's been a long time, and things were changing at a pace in '68. Do you happen to remember who you may have ran recon with? Any of the teams or any of the men that you were with?
Yeah, I don't remember the names. I can tell you the 1-0's name that I was assigned to. His name was Hatcher.
Hatcher.
Yeah,
I'll have to do some digging and see if I can find Mr. Hatcher. I do know a Hatcher from CCC, but he was well after this time, so
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking that's a much different man. um, we haven't quite made it, but this is a good question from Jed. Was there a major difference in the helicopter unit support and logistical equipment support between the A camps and SOG?
Yeah, there was, as a matter of fact. The On the A team, I could get airstrikes in mainly spooky, that type of thing. In SOG, I owe my life to the Sky Raiders, the A1E Sky Raiders. I love those things. I mean, they just would carry more ordnance. The F4s were too quick. They'd go in, couldn't see the target, and out in 20 seconds or whatever. The A1Es would stay on target, and they could see it and visually acknowledge it, and they had a lot of ordnance. From that standpoint, my heart goes out to those A1Es Sky Raider guys. Helicopter wise, we mainly use the 1H UEs, and then we started getting. When we got to SOG, we had some Cobras, and we used CH-36s and 37s for the bigger stuff, and I think that was pretty much it.
Were you using King Bees?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I forgot about those guys. Yeah, we went in with the SOG. Most of the SOG stuff was done with the King Bees, okay, and we had Vietnamese pilots. I can remember one guy's name was Cowboy.
Oh yeah.
From that standpoint, but yeah, those guys were fearless too. They'd go in even under fire and try to pick you up. From that standpoint.
Oh, we've Lord knows from Mr. John Myers' books and
Yeah,
from some of the podcasts that those guys were. I don't even know if
amazing.
fearless is the
Yeah,
word you can use. Just
amazing. Yeah, and I have to agree with that.
yes, Cowboy, legendary, and I believe there was another one named Mustachio that operated at FOB4
Yeah,
that sadly
yeah,
died in a crash. But both of those are in SOG history forever.
yeah, absolutely. Cowboy's a legend.
Mm, mm. And there's there's a great photo of Cowboy in gosh, I think it's in Mr. Plaster's book to where they're sitting at the bar, the
Yeah,
photo edition, both him and Mustachio, two normal looking guys with balls of steel just sitting there at the bar.
yeah, yeah.
Um, let's see here with the guys. I apologize about my voice. I don't know what's going on. When you hook up with the Hatchet Force, Mr. Mr. Chuck Pfeiffer, he is the platoon leader. Is that the
Yeah.
correct term for the Hatchet Forces?
Yeah, he was in charge of the Hatchet Force. Hey, good guy. I really liked him. I'd go through hell with him. From that standpoint. He's a real famous guy. I don't know if you know a lot about him, but he got the Silver Star for August 23rd, 1968, and he's West Point grad, and he's been involved in advertising In fact, he was not the Marlboro man. One of the other cigarette brands. He was the Marlboro man for that
It's
brand.
like
Okay.
Salem. I can't.
Yes, I can't think. I thought it was like.
Maybe
I
Winston.
can't even know. I don't know.
It was one of the big brands, though. It was
Yeah, it
no
was like
cheapo. He was like in
yeah.
on the New York billboards.
That's it.
Smoke.
That's it.
It's. I'll see if I can find that while you're talking, actually, because
Uh,
it's.
I'm in his book. They got a picture of me there. They have the secret wars of Laos and Cambodia. I'm in there. I understand. I'm also in Dawson's war book
Yes,
from that standpoint.
that's a great book too, Mr. Ken Boyd. Dang it, he actually was the Winston man, and I've got it right here, and I'm trying to find it to where it will pull it up correctly. I may just have to show y'all right here because it's going to pull into an article.
Yeah, it was Winchester. Was it Winchester? The one? Yeah. Marlboro?
Winston, it looks
Winston.
like.
That's it. That's it. You got it, big guy. That was
That's
him.
a book talking about him, but that right there is the ad. That is Mr. Pfeiffer, if y'all can believe it. That's Mr. Pfeiffer, the Hatchet Force leader.
That was it.
A model. That was always wild to me. As soon as I got to the part, I was like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
So when
he's got an interesting history too.
He
ran a bar for bikers in New York and stuff like that.
Book. Let me grab it real quick just to show people. It is Dai Huy, Vietnamese for captain.
That's it.
By Chuck Pfeiffer. I'm almost positive there's been a reprinting and you can find an ample supply on Amazon.
Yeah.
If not, y'all message me and I'll get you and I'll get in touch with Mr. Chuck and see if I can get y'all a copy because he actually sent me that copy signed. So I'll get y'all some books. Yes, Jed, I love his book too. With Mr. Chuck, you had already mentioned going into Laos. I was always curious what exactly, because we know the CCC guys were, I mean, they were putting up roadblocks on the trail, doing slam operations is what they called them.
I think the one I was on with Pfeiffer on the Hatchet Force, we were going in to try to pick up an NVA division, trying to locate them.
Oh, that's in his book.
Yeah.
That is a hell of a.
If you look at the back cover, they got my picture in there on a back flap, I think. Yeah. Anyway, it's in there.
There's all his photos right here. Gosh, I'm gonna have to reread this book now.
Yeah.
Interesting guy. I've got most of these photos right here, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Sergeant Major of FOB4.
You know what? I think I got. I don't know if I got it here or not, but I thought it was on the back cover, on the flap. But,
nothing on the back flap, just him. I'm trying to see if he's got you in the photo section.
Yeah.
I think he's got the Hatchet Force photo. He played in Navy. I mean, this guy really did it all. He went back to North Vietnam. He was friends with Oliver Stone and Willem Dafoe when they were doing Platoon.
Yeah, he was a
mover and shaker.
One heck of a guy.
Yeah, as my dad would say, a mover and a shaker.
You're right. Where's my picture? Anyway, I'm in there somewhere.
That's a great. I'm glad you mentioned that because I think y'all were after the 324.
Oh, there it is. Hold it. Yeah, he's got the Winston, man. Yeah, okay. I'm on the one that reads Chuck and his men, Hatchet Force FOB4. You can see me in the back of it.
Yep, I'm gonna have to reread this one because I had forgotten how much craziness y'all get into out at Cam Duck, at Quezon. Yep, I'm gonna have to read this one again. This is
it's about more about his life than Vietnam. and it was an interesting. It was interesting for me to read it. Okay, from that standpoint.
God, there he is meeting Sean Flynn of also Errol Flynn's son who went missing.
Yeah.
Wow. Someone, sorry about that. Jed was curious. Did you get to serve under Colonel Aarons?
I don't think so. Yeah, I did. As I think I did. Yeah. The one I had that you got a picture of is Colonel Warren.
Jack Warren.
Putting a Bronze Star on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me pull that one up. And I didn't know it, but he was actually Project Delta as before he took over FOB4.
Yeah, he took off over FOB4. I love the guy. I loved him. Yeah.
That's a great.
I know that other guy too that you got the name on. When he was young.
Where would y'all hold the awards at? What, just out in the company area, or
the guy that's on the right hand side was a sergeant major. He got killed that night.
Oh God.
Some of the other guys I can't recognize. I know the guy that second from the right. I knew him. God, his name escapes me. He was a really nice guy. I can't remember, but yeah,
he's got a 173rd.
Yeah, I served under Aaron. He preceded Colonel Warren.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
wow.
He preceded Colonel Warren.
Okay. Wow. Did y'all? I mean, it kind of seemed like y'all had your y'all didn't have any trouble unless y'all caused trouble. Did they pretty much leave y'all alone and let y'all work and do what y'all needed to do?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was completely different. They left you pretty much on your own, and you know, we did a lot of training and stuff like that for it, and
a necessity in y'all's line of work.
Yeah.
Did when you had mentioned earlier the huge array of weapons, did you find that you because you said you used the AK, the CAR-15, did you find one that you stuck with, or did you kind of pick one depending on the weapon?
Again, bud.
Did you pick your what? Did you pick the CAR-15 or the AK, or did you just choose whichever one depended on the mission?
You kind of chose the one that you thought was apropos for the job. Okay, from that standpoint, usually the points guys, I think, carried silent weapons, weapons with silencers on them, which was usually a Sten or a Swedish K. Wow. And then, you know, a lot of guys had the CAR-15s, you know, from that standpoint. But I think you chose the one you felt. I remember I had a Thompson 45. It was so heavy, but the only time I do it is travel with it was if I was in a Jeep somewhere, you know, from that standpoint.
Where you rested.
Yeah.
Did and I forgot if it was exclusively, at this point in time, did you say y'all were working strictly with Nungs on the hatchet force, or
no, Chinese Nungs. They were Chinese Nungs on FOB4. CNC used mountain yards, and then I think the Cambodians were in CCS.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't realize that the Nungs were around from the very beginning of MACV-SOG and essentially special forces. Really, I mean, they were the bodyguards to the SF men essentially, and then they saw how tough and mean they were, and started putting them on the recon and hatchet forces.
Yeah. Yep, you got it.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, it got pretty bad enough to where the guys started losing the amount to where they were full Nung teams, so to speak, and they started running
Yeah.
security because they had gone through their men so much
Yeah. Yeah.
and been
I
around so
got
long.
along with the nuns. Okay. I didn't have a problem with the nuns. I didn't have a problem with the mountain yards either, from that standpoint. But
From what I've heard, it sounds like the mountain yards were almost like kids and their
yeah, yeah,
curiosity and wonderment, and as long as you
yeah,
treated them good, they treated you
yeah.
just as good or better.
Yeah, they treated us pretty good. They have this wine that they make out of
Non-pay.
rice, nampe, yeah. And you sit around and
Woo!
they keep them in there, and they have these big straws you suck out of, and they have the long houses and stuff like that. I knew Pharaoh from that standpoint. So
How'd you handle your first taste of non-pay?
not well.
Uh,
Uh, Probably like most Americans,
I
you're
was
not
I
used
was
to that stuff. Yeah,
I was about to say I'm finishing a book. I
yeah,
had just finished a book where he said he had to go pee and he went and puked just to where he could get through
yeah.
the next
Yeah.
batch.
But I remember working with the Mountain Lions on the A team. We would take grenades and go down to the river and throw the grenades in there, and then catch the fish as they were coming out. Would float up, and then they invited me for dinner one time, and I came up and I looked at the fire. It looked like a baby in there. And they said, "Oh no, gara, gara," and that's monkey. They use it, but they would eat anything. They ate those red fire ants. I couldn't believe that.
I, I've spoken to a CCC vet that got caught in monsoon season and they
Yeah,
ran out of food and water. And had they not had the mountain yards showing them what they could eat and not eat, they would have been dead
yeah,
easily
yeah,
before the choppers got in to pick them up. That's another thing that's amazing that
yeah.
how in tune with their environment they were. I mean,
Yeah, they were.
like the Native Americans of the U.S.
Yeah,
Gosh, that's
amazing.
so just bewildered. I mean, that's just amazing how in tune they are. I'd
Yeah.
love to, if I could ever get over my fear. I promise I'm going to Vietnam. I'm just terrified of crossing that ocean in an airplane.
I'll tell you what, you can have my next trip. I ran across a congressional medal, a Green Beret Congressional Medal of Honor winner. His name escapes me, but when I was talking to him, he goes back and teaches English as a second language or something like that in Vietnam. From that standpoint, I just don't have any desire to go back there because the last time I was there, they were trying to kill me.
I was about to say, I can see how you vets wouldn't particularly care to go. Me as a history nerd, I'd love to go to there and to Europe to see some of the
Yeah.
WW2 sites. But even Vietnam, with them pushing the party line on me, I might not take it very well either.
Yeah.
I got to admit on that as well. And you kind of mentioned you actually went into great detail on the sapper attack. Uh, eh, uh, Guys, if y'all have any specific questions, y'all can put that in, and we'll let him answer that. Do you have anything you'd like to say? I mean, I think you covered the attack pretty well, both in the first one and
Yeah.
this one.
Well, I can remember they blew up the TOC Center completely, and I had a buddy of mine there. His name was Alfine, and he was gone. And I remember they blew up the demolitions bunker that we had, and you could smell the cordite and all that other stuff along with it that night. But I remember looking at out from the bunker, and right by one of the headquarters buildings, they had a Jeep, and the zappers were underneath the Jeep from that standpoint. But weird. It's here's an interesting point. We had this gal that was in charge of the mess hall. Her name was Fu, and Fu was absent the day before August 23rd. Did she know? I don't know.
I've heard that some of the guys also caught the barber either on the compound or walking out, stepping out, marking stuff off or something.
Yeah. And they actually had a model. They came across a model of the camp. To our benefit, it was backwards, from that standpoint. But
I believe that. Didn't you say, I think it was you that said because it was backwards, instead of hitting the recon company, they hit the indigenous barracks and the Indig fought like hell and they weren't expecting that. Maybe I could be mixing up who I've spoken to from FOB4.
I can't recall, to tell you the truth, but
well, it's who knows what was going on. Frank, what? No, I have not seen that. I will though. I've got his book, and I would like to talk to him. Someone was asking if I've seen the latest interview with Mr. Bill Albrecht from Firebase Kate.
Yeah.
Great story. Medal of Honor. Wait, didn't he win earn the Medal of Honor for that, guys? I think he did.
I think he did.
Yeah. The guys in the chat always keep me straight.
Yeah.
After the ill-fated Sapper attack and y'all run some missions and the Hatchet Force and everybody gets back to normal, how much time is left on your tour after the 23rd?
Well, I rotated out in I think December, I guess it was. So what is that? 6 months, something like that.
Yeah, you still had a good bit of time.
Yeah.
Downgraded to Silver Star. Jeez. Yeah. Wow. Didn't realize that. So did you spend the rest of your time while those 6 months with the Hatchet Force and Mr. Charlie?
Yeah. Wow. I did. In fact, when I got back to the 6th Special Forces, they were getting ready for the raid in North Vietnam. Yeah.
Wow.
So I volunteered for it, but they said, no, you're too short.
I've also heard...
I didn't know if they were talking about stature or time lift.
I've also heard, even though there was about 4 or 5 guys that had been in SOG previously, they were trying to keep SOG out of the raid because they didn't know who was known to the North Vietnamese.
Yeah.
So that could have been.
Well, you get a little paranoid after a while. You don't know who to trust, and from that standpoint.
In y'all's line of work, I can only imagine. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, geez Louise. How many? And always curious about the Hatchet Forces. On an average, how many times a month are you guys going out, or how often are you going out?
I'd say maybe twice a month. Okay, from that standpoint, are you familiar with Mad Dog Shriver?
Yes, sir, Mr. Jerry.
He got killed on a Hatchet Force mission.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah. Terrible story.
Yeah.
I've just gotten word from a man that I know that just retired from DPAA that they're actually over there right now. Some people are on a dig looking for him and some of his indigenous men. So keep your fingers crossed, guys, that they find some traces of Mr. Jerry.
Yeah, I one of the guys was a captain over there, and he was on a McGuire rig, and he fell off the McGuire rig, and his wife wrote a book about her efforts trying to get information from him. The weird part is the guys that died in the August 23rd Zapper attack, they could not tell their families how they died because it was a top secret organization. And then Sora finally, after I guess 35 years or something like that, gave out plaques to the families. But in fact, I knew one of the guys that I sat at his table where his brother had died from that
Mr.
standpoint.
Bill Brick's brother.
Yeah, that's it.
He's
You
spoken.
got it.
He's spoken very highly of you. Very, very highly of you.
Pulled another one.
You can pull the sheets over anybody's eyes.
Yeah.
Jed was curious. We've all heard about about Captain Pfeiffer. Was he as prolific at throwing hand grenades as they say?
Yeah, that's what he did. Yeah, he went out. It's kind of weird. This buddy of mine, who's a good friend of mine, who went through the August 23rd battle, his name is Harrison Peoples. Okay, he's a major now. He's a good friend of mine, and he was there that night. And he and Pfeiffer and one other officer were roommates together up there. And so Harrison was telling me, what had happened up there. And I can remember watching Pfeiffer come out from one of the buildings. It was him and about maybe 3 or 4 different guys tossing hand grenades. Okay, from that standpoint. The dilemma that I had was I was told to stay in a bunker, and the thought went through my mind, that's usually an attack from the outside. This one was an attack from the inside. So, I stayed with my orders and stayed in a bunker,
Yeah, I'm about to say, and also you're an NCO, and he's a West Point captain, and
Yeah, that's it.
He's gonna do a little bit of what he wants to do.
Yeah. They call them ring knockers.
Yeah, I was just fixing to say that. I was going to say, no offense to y'all from West Point, but the ring knocker mafia, it does as they please. Jed was curious, and I just finished Mr. Donahue's book, but do you know Colt Terry or Mr. James Donahue?
James Donahue, yeah, I knew him well. He was the guy that got the Congressional Medal of Honor, and he was a guy I was talking about that goes back to Vietnam every so many years to teach English as a secondary language. Yeah, he's a nice guy. Really liked him. He wasn't in the best of health last time I saw him.
That's amazing going back there and teaching like that. That's always one special force is always special forces. It's
absolutely
amazing.
When I went in for my physical at AFES Oakland, they said, "What do you want to be?" And I looked at the doctor and said, "I want to be a Marine." He looks at the chart and he says, "You can't be a Marine." I said, "Why?" He said, "First off, your IQ is too high, and your parents were married."
I love that. And your favorite food eating crayons.
Yeah.
I can say that, guys. My dad was a Marine, so don't berate me in the comments. So what when you start getting, shall we say, short in y'all's parlance, what's it like at the compound? Are you kind of taken out of commission when you get short, or are you running right till the very end there?
I think towards the end, and I'm going to say the last 2 weeks or something like that, they pull you offline. Okay.
Oh,
the weird part was one of the guys, he was from New York, at FOB4, was supposed to catch a flight to go to Nha Trang and get come back to the States, and he got killed that night. And I'm thinking, boy, something else.
I hate to hear that. There's a nice.
I kind of developed a philosophy after Vietnam, and the philosophy is nothing is forever. Okay, no matter homes, relationships, whatever it is, enjoy it while you got it, because you never know when it's going to end.
Because it comes to an end at some point.
Yeah, it does. Everything ends.
Wow. So, are you packing those bags and running to the nearest airplane when you get those orders or DEROS orders to the
Yeah.
States? Or
Yeah, the weird part was coming over. I bet you there was 100 Green Berets, okay, on the flight.
wow.
Going back, there was maybe 25.
Oh, that puts a grim perspective on things right
Yeah.
there. That's Jesus. That's. And do you? I'm sure you do know it by heart. Do you remember the day you left Vietnam?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
Do you remember the date you left Vietnam?
Not off the top of my head, no. But I did. They did send me to Taiwan as a diplomatic courier. That's the way they CNC used to get their guys out for a break. And I went to Taiwan, and then I had R&R, which I went to Australia. And frankly, I had a better time in Taiwan because there was like 5 Green Berets there in Taiwan, and just kind of doing it. When I went through the advanced engineering school at Fort Belvoir, I went through it in the first special forces class to go through there. And there was about 60 Green Beret engineers, and they didn't know how to handle us.
I can only
They didn't know how
imagine.
to handle the Green Berets.
Ooh, I can only, especially that many of y'all. It's
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
enough when there's five,
It was,
six,
it
seven,
was
but
it was Washington D.C. every night.
ooh, batten down the hatches, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's it.
Um, let's see. When did Ed leave Westpac? I'm not sure what you mean, Mr. Ed.
Yeah. Does he mean get out of Vietnam
I
and
believe
back to
so.
Fort Bragg?
Mhm.
I'll have to do a little calculation here. I think it's, if I remember right, I came out in December, okay, of 68,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and then back
The
to
sixth.
Fort Bragg.
And are you immediately put, as you said, in the sixth group to the SATM team?
Yeah, yeah,
Jeez Louise.
yeah. Interesting stuff. The SATM team and then the satellite recovery.
That's some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I know we're coming up. I'm not
They
gonna hold
they
you to
uh,
it,
they
but
put you in what they call isolation, which is
oh,
a building, no windows, barbed wire, guards at the gate, and the whole thing. And you go in there for like 24 to 48 hours before the mission.
wow. And would y'all just get a periodical call or whatever that NASA or the geospace group has gotten word
Yeah,
that a
we
satellite's
never
about?
actually had to go out, but we trained for it. It's
Uh,
like when we were jumping in with the atomic bombs, there was a whole section of codes that they use bent spear, broken arrow, dull sword, that type of thing. So once you parachute in with the device, once you get about 75 feet off the ground, you pull this cord and it releases the bomb down on a bungee cord. And then, so it lands safe. And then you go through the bomb and you make sure that it's capable of firing. And then that's where all these terms came in: dull sword, bent spear, broken arrow, that type of thing.
wow. Wow. I'm even with a practice one, I can't even imagine what that feeling is, knowing you've got a nuke in between your legs or on your back that you're jumping in with.
Yeah.
Whew.
Thank God we never had to use it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How long were you on that on a SATM team?
I'm going to say 8 months.
Ooh, that's a long time to be doing some scary work like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and you around that time you are promoted to staff sergeant.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
And
I made staff sergeant right at 3 years. I made E5. They promoted me to a E5 at 18 months, and then staff sergeant E6 at 3 years.
wow, What was as you were getting ready to leave the military? What was your last duty? Shall we say? Were you just hanging out around Bragg?
Yeah. And they ship me to the company that discharges guys. And I remember as an E6, they put me in charge of a bunch of guys that were getting out below E6 naturally, but it was conventional, and I was never a conventional soldier. I was an SF guy all the way.
That's hilarious. Let me see here. There is a question. I'm gonna hold that for just a second. Um, we did cover some of your post work, and I might save that because there's enough there that we might end up doing a show on your post military work because that's very interesting. And we're coming up on over an hour and a half here.
Yeah.
So I've got one more question here,
Sure.
and then we'll get ready to close it out. But and I'm curious about this too because I've only heard Lynn Black speak about this. But have you ever worked with Torpex or liquid foxhole? These are things I've only heard Lynn Black
No,
speak about.
no. Are they explosives?
I believe so. I think he said they were like liquid.
Yeah. The explosives that I used to use were a lot of C4s, claymores, soap dishes, which is thermite, and C4, shape charges, and what was it called? It's a torpedo thing for breaking through.
Bangalore torpedo.
Bangalore torpedo, precisely. And then as part of it, they make you do. They give you an assignment before you graduate. They give you a target, and you got to figure out what you're going to do on a target. To destroy it, that type of thing. So.
Wow. I forgot where there was a photo I had the other day of some of an SF guy with a Bangalore torpedo, and I can't remember if he was blowing up a bunker or a weapons cache site or what have you. But it was literally one like you saw in Saving Private Ryan. He had it over his head, running, about to jam it in, and said clear out. And
one of the biggest explosions I ever did was we were blowing up. This is back at Bragg. I put a soap dish on a bunch of 55-gallon drums, and I was about 300 feet away in a bunker. When we we set it off, and it looked like the atomic bomb going off, and that thermal plume and the whole thing like that. I think I got my eyebrows singed on that one.
I can only imagine what the people that weren't around or doing it with you were like. What just blew up?
What I said to myself was, "Holy shit!"
Oh, I love that. You USF guys are a different breed. Well, I think we may see about if we can hold off on your post-military career,
Right.
and if you'd like, we might go into that because now that I've got your resume, so to speak, and look through it, it's quite interesting, and I think the viewers would get a kick out of it if you would be gracious enough to join us again.
Absolutely.
All righty.
I thank you, bud. You do a great job on this stuff. Okay.
Without you guys agreeing to come on and being so open, it wouldn't be possible. So thank you for coming on and spending 2 hours with us and talking to us. It's
my pleasure.
Everybody in the chat's already saying thank you, and always appreciate when you're on here. It's absolutely wonderful. Is there anything you'd like to say or share as we start to close out for the evening?
The only thing I could say is I never thought I'd make it out of Vietnam alive. Okay. That's kind of my parting shot, I guess.
And those that are just coming in on the end or haven't heard Mr. Ed's story will see why he thought that, because Lord knows he came close several times, and especially with the sapper attack alone at the compound. Thank the lucky stars you're here to share with it. And keep the men's legacy that alive that passed away that day, like you're doing.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. So guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up on this part 2 with Mr. Ed, and we'll see about here in a week or so if we can get him back to share his post-military career, which y'all heard a little bit about. Very intriguing, and we'll just get ready for part 3. So Mr. Ed, I thank you, sir, and
Thank you, sir.
we're gonna go ahead and close her out for the